Gossip. The Bible, Psalm 15, a psalm of David, describes the kind of person who can commune with God, dwelling in His presence and worshiping Him. Psalm chapter 15, verses 1 through 5. Lord, who may abide in your tabernacle? Who may dwell in your holy hill? He who walks uprightly, and works righteousness, and speaks the truth in his heart. He who does not backbite with his tongue, nor does evil to his neighbor, nor does he take up a reproach against his friend, in whose eyes a vile person is despised, but he honors those who fear the Lord, he who swears to his own hurt and does not change. He who does not put out his money at usury, nor does he take a bribe against the innocent. He who does these things shall never be moved. While there are several characteristics of such a person highlighted in this psalm, we focus on verse 3. Psalm chapter 15, verse 3 from the New Living Translation. Those who refuse to gossip or harm their neighbors or speak evil of their friends. Gossip, backbiting, and speaking evil of others are those sins, which we often take lightly, but these affect our relationship with God. These sins hinder our communion and worship of God and our experience of His presence. What gossip is? The dictionary definition for gossip is casual or unconstrained conversation or reports about other people, typically involving details which are not confirmed as true, taken from the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. Gossip typically is idle talk or rumor, especially about personal or private affairs of others. It is the spreading of misinformation about people. In this book, we will use the following terms interchangeably: gossip, backbiting, slander, backstabbing, whisperer, talebearer, although there are some finer differences in the meaning of each. The Bible uses the word talebearer for a gossiper, backbiter, or slanderer. For the sake of our understanding, we will briefly define some of these terms, although we use them interchangeably. Backbiting is malicious talk about someone who is not present, harming someone's reputation without offering them a chance of defense. It is, as the word depicts, to bite them behind their backs. Backstabbing, the action of criticizing someone in a treacherous manner while pretending friendship with them. Slander is making a false, negative, malicious, and defamatory statement or report about someone. Tattletale or talebearer is one who reports the wrongdoings of others to an authority, usually with the intent of getting them into trouble, and not to resolve a problem. In the Old Testament, when giving instructions about the community life among His people, God stated, Exodus chapter 23, verse 1. You shall not circulate a false report. Do not put your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 16. You shall not go about as a talebearer among your people, nor shall you take a stand against the life of your neighbor. I am the Lord. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 16 from the New Living Translation. Do not spread slanderous gossip among your people. Unfortunately, quite a few people enjoy gossip or talebearing and hence indulge in it. Gossip is like a sumptuous meal for some people. They enjoy engaging in gossip and talking about others. They feel they had their fill after spending an hour or so in gossip. Rumors sink into a person's heart. We think this is just light-hearted talk that amounts to nothing. But what is gossip affects people? Proverbs chapter 18, verse 8 and Proverbs chapter 26, verse 22 both state that the words of a talebearer are like tasty trifles, and they go down into the inmost body. What is not considered gossip? There are times when we do have to speak about others, talk about their strengths, weaknesses, and assess their failures. However, these are not considered gossip when it is done for a good purpose and in a non-malicious manner. Consider some examples. Casual talk or sharing of information without demeaning anyone. For example, you may share your experience about meeting someone and whether you found your time well spent, whether the outcome of the meeting was positive or negative, and discuss other related matters. In such situations, you give your honest assessment without any intent to demean anyone. Sharing about a certain experience that may include what others said or did. Here again, you may share details, but you do this with no harm intended to any of the people involved. Professional assessment of an experience or evaluation of an individual or situation. This happens regularly in workplace situations. For example, when you are reporting about an interview of a candidate, doing performance appraisals, resolving a difficult situation, and so on. In these contexts, you honestly discuss strengths and weaknesses, good and bad, to present an accurate picture, seeking to get a matter resolved. In situations where there has been conflict or problems, we review the series of events and things that transpired, to arrive at a fair conclusion or decision on the next course of action. Here is what the scripture instructs us to do. Moreover, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he hears you, you have gained your brother. But if he will not hear, take with you one or two more, that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he refuses to hear them, tell it to the church. But if he refuses even to hear the church, let him be to you like a heathen and a tax collector. Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 17. When addressing a matter where there is wrongdoing or moral failure. In such situations, we need to address matters with all those involved, talk about the wrong that was done, and work toward correction and restoration. We do not attempt to hide the wrong that was done, but we address the matter as instructed in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, considering yourself lest you also be tempted. Sin and wrongdoing must be acknowledged and repented of, as instructed in James chapter 5, verse 16. Confess your trespasses to one another, and pray for one another, that you may be healed. In exposing wrong so that people will not be led astray. There are times we may have to address matters of concern publicly and expose wrongdoing and wrongdoers. We do this with the intent of warning and protecting others, so that they may be preserved from harm and danger. While our hearts are filled with mercy and compassion toward the wrongdoers, we expose their wrongdoing for the greater good of others. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11. Those who are sinning rebuke in the presence of all, that the rest also may fear. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 20. In all the above situations, the underlying premise is to speak the truth in love. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15.